hypnotic sound of a keyboard cuts through the darkness, a swirling serpentine melody that defined an era. Behind that sound sat Ray Manzarek, the classically trained pianist who helped transform the Doors from a Venice Beach poetry project into rock and roll legends. "I still remember that day on the beach," Manzarek recalled in his final interviews. "Jim Morrison, this kid from my film class, singing these incredible lyrics. Right there, I knew we could set the world on fire." That chance meeting would birth one of rock's most innovative bands. Behind Morrison's shamanic presence stood the intellectual architect of the Doors' sound, a musician who merged Bach with the blues, classical discipline with psychedelic exploration. This is the story of Ray Manzarek, the man who turned poetry into rock and roll. Early life, Raymond Daniel Manzarek Jr. was born into a working-class Polish-American family on February 12, 1939 in Chicago. Growing up in a household filled with music, young Ray began his musical journey at age 7, when his parents enrolled him in classical piano lessons, immersing him in the works of Chopin, Bach, and Beethoven. His father's record collection introduced him to Chicago blues, exposing Ray to the raw energy of Muddy Waters and Jimmy Reed. This unique combination of classical training and blues appreciation would later shape his distinctive musical style. During his years at St. Rita High School, Ray formed his first band, blending classical pieces with emerging rock and roll at school dances. Despite his musical talents, Ray's intellectual curiosity led him beyond music. He enrolled at DePaul University before transferring to UCLA's film school in 1962. The move to California proved transformative, exposing him to the emerging counterculture of 1960s Los Angeles. At UCLA, he met two people who would profoundly impact his life: Dorothy Fujikawa, his future wife, and Jim Morrison, a charismatic poet in his film class. The early 1960s saw Ray exploring avant-garde cinema, Eastern philosophy, and meditation. He joined the UCLA Film Society, creating experimental shorts that reflected his growing interest in visual storytelling. These cinematic influences would later shape the Doors' theatrical performances and music videos. "Film school taught me about structure, about building tension and release," Manzarek later explained. "Those same principles applied when arranging our songs." The pivotal moment came in 1965 when Ray reconnected with Morrison on Venice Beach. Morrison shared his poetry, including lyrics for Moonlight Drive. Recognizing the potential, they decided to form a band. Guitarist Robbie Krieger and drummer John Densmore, both from Ray's meditation class, completed the lineup. Unable to afford a bass player, Ray developed his signature style, playing bass lines with his left hand while handling melody with his right on the Vox Continental organ. This economic necessity became the Doors' distinctive sound, setting them apart from other bands of the era. These early years shaped not just Manzarek's musical abilities, but his entire artistic vision. His classical training provided structure, film school taught him storytelling, and the counterculture opened his mind to new possibilities. As the band began rehearsing in Venice Beach, they created something unique, a fusion of poetry, classical music, blues, and rock that would soon captivate the world. Did Morrison ever visit your town? Share your local Doors memories in the comments. Rise to fame. The Doors began their journey at the London Fog, a small club on Sunset Strip, playing to nearly empty rooms. Night after night, they refined their sound through marathon sets, with Manzarek's keyboards providing the foundation. Their residency at the Whiskey A Go Go followed, where they opened for established acts like Van Morrison's Them. Their breakthrough came in 1967. Light My Fire, featuring Manzarek's iconic organ intro, topped the Billboard charts. The song's extended instrumental section, influenced by John Coltrane's jazz arrangements, demonstrated Ray's ability to merge commercial appeal with artistic innovation. The band's self-titled debut album captured the darker undertones of the Summer of Love. Manzarek's keyboard work on Break On Through and The End showcased his versatility, from driving rock rhythms to ethereal soundscapes. His classical background emerged in the intricate arrangements, while his blues influences powered the band's grittier numbers. As musical director, Ray translated Morrison's poetic visions into structured compositions. "Jim would bring in lyrics and I'd help shape them into songs," he said. "We weren't just making music, we were creating sonic landscapes for Jim's poetry." The band's reputation grew through electrifying live performances. Manzarek's keyboard setup became increasingly complex, allowing him to simultaneously cover bass lines, melodies, and solos. This technical innovation influenced countless rock keyboardists and helped establish the organ as a lead instrument in rock music. Their appearances on television shows like Ed Sullivan boosted their profile, though they famously clashed with producers over censorship of lyrics. The incident, where they refused to change Light My Fire lyrics for broadcast, established their artistic integrity. By 1968, the Doors were selling out arenas worldwide. Strange Days and Waiting for the Sun demonstrated the band's evolving sound, with Manzarek incorporating new instruments like the Moog synthesizer. His arrangements became more sophisticated, incorporating elements of baroque pop and experimental rock. Success brought new challenges. As Morrison's behaviour became more unpredictable, Ray often served as the band's spokesperson and stabilising force. He managed relationships with their record label, defended their artistic choices, and kept the band focused on their musical mission. Their rise culminated in performances at major venues like Madison Square Garden and the Hollywood Bowl. The Doors had evolved from a local Los Angeles band into international rock stars, with Manzarek's distinctive keyboard sound becoming as recognisable as Morrison's baritone voice. What's your favourite Ray Manzarek keyboard solo? Drop the timestamp in the comments and let's discuss the genius behind each note. Career peak. The years 1968 to 1971 marked the Doors' artistic zenith. Morrison Hotel and L.A. Woman showcased the band's mature sound, with Manzarek's keyboards taking centre stage on tracks like Riders on the Storm. His jazz-influenced electric piano created the song's distinctive rainy atmosphere, while his classical training emerged in complex arrangements for Love Her Madly. The band's 1969 Miami concert became a turning point. Morrison's arrest for alleged indecent exposure triggered a national backlash. Radio stations banned their music, concerts were cancelled, and the band faced mounting pressure. Throughout the crisis, Manzarek defended Morrison while maintaining the band's touring schedule and recording commitments. "We were at our creative peak," Manzarek recalled, "but external forces were pulling us apart. The music kept us together when everything else was chaos." Their 1970 Morrison Hotel recording sessions revealed a return to blues roots. Manzarek's keyboard work on Roadhouse Blues demonstrated his Chicago influences, while Queen of the Highway showcased his ability to weave orchestral elements into rock frameworks. L.A. Woman in 1971 represented their commercial and artistic triumph. Recorded in their rehearsal space to capture a raw sound, the album featured some of Manzarek's most innovative work. His keyboards drove L.A. Woman and provided the haunting foundation for Riders on the Storm, their final recording with Morrison. Morrison's death in Paris on July 3, 1971, marked the end of an era. The remaining members released 2 albums, Other Voices and Full Circle, with Manzarek handling vocals. While commercially successful, these recordings couldn't replicate the original band's magic. Ray's post-Morrison years included producing albums for punk band X and collaborating with Philip Glass. He released several solo albums, combining classical elements with rock experimentation. His 1974 The Golden Scarab and 1974's The Whole Thing started with rock and roll. Now It's Out of Control demonstrated his evolving artistry. The band's influence grew despite their inactivity. Manzarek's keyboard techniques influenced new wave and punk musicians, while his fusion of classical and rock elements inspired progressive rock bands. His innovative bass lines on keyboard's approach became a template for emerging electronic music. Throughout this period, Manzarek emerged as the primary keeper of the Doors' legacy, providing thoughtful interviews and working on documentaries about the band. His articulate defense of their artistic vision helped secure their place in rock history, while ensuring their music reached new generations. Tell us about your first time hearing the Doors. What song was it, and how did it change your perspective on music? Personal struggles. Morrison's escalating alcoholism strained band relationships daily. Manzarek often mediated between Morrison's erratic behaviour and the band's professional obligations, struggling to maintain artistic integrity while managing their frontman's decline. Legal battles consumed significant energy. The Miami incident's aftermath brought FBI surveillance and venue cancellations. Manzarek fought to keep the band performing despite promoters' fears and media backlash. He handled press interviews, defending Morrison while preserving their reputation. Following Morrison's death, Ray faced industry skepticism about the Doors' viability. Their two post-Morrison albums received mixed reactions. Critics questioned their decision to continue, creating tension between honouring their legacy and moving forward artistically. The 1970s brought financial challenges. Manzarek's solo projects achieved modest success, but changing musical tastes made it difficult to maintain commercial momentum. His production work with punk bands drew criticism from traditional Doors fans, who resisted his evolution beyond psychedelic rock. Legal disputes over the Doors' name and music rights created rifts between surviving members. The 1980s saw conflicts over licensing decisions and reunion attempts. Manzarek and guitarist Robbie Krieger faced litigation from drummer John Densmore and the Morrison estate when touring as the Doors of the 21st century. Personal artistic compromises weighed heavily. Ray struggled balancing commercial opportunities with protecting the Doors' artistic legacy. Each decision about licensing music for advertisements or allowing song modifications sparked internal debate and public criticism. His role as keeper of the Doors' flame proved demanding. Constant interview requests forced him to revisit painful memories. Some critics accused him of exploiting Morrison's legacy, while others questioned his interpretations of band history. "Being the Doors' historian wasn't a role I chose," he said, "but someone had to tell the true story, to protect what we created." The changing music industry challenged his artistic vision. As electronic music gained popularity, Manzarek's classical rock fusion approach found fewer mainstream outlets. His later collaborations with poets and world musicians, while personally satisfying, reached limited audiences. Health issues eventually restricted his performing ability. Arthritis affected his playing, forcing adjustments to his distinctive keyboard style. Yet he continued touring and recording, adapting his technique while maintaining his artistic standards. These struggles tested Manzarek's resilience, but also shaped his character. Each challenge reinforced his commitment to artistic integrity and preservation of the Doors' legacy, even when facing significant personal and professional costs. Wrong answers only. What was Ray actually playing during the bass parts? Most creative response gets pinned. Final days. In his later years, Manzarek continued performing Doors songs with Robbie Krieger while exploring new musical directions. He collaborated with poets, composed electronic music, and wrote 2 memoirs detailing the Doors' journey. His battle with bile duct cancer became public in 2013. Despite declining health, he maintained his creative spirit, working on several musical projects until his final days. Ray Manzarek died on May 20th, 2013, in Rosenheim, Germany, surrounded by his family. His passing sparked tributes from musicians worldwide who acknowledged his revolutionary keyboard techniques and contribution to rock music. Former bandmate John Densmore reconciled with him before his death, healing old wounds from their legal disputes. Manzarek's legacy extends beyond the Doors. His innovative keyboard approach influenced generations of musicians, from punk to electronic music artists. His bass lines on keyboards technique revolutionized rock band dynamics, while his fusion of classical and rock elements helped legitimize rock as an art form. Before his death, he reflected, "Music was my life's great adventure." From those classical piano lessons in Chicago to Venice Beach with Jim, every note was part of the journey. The Doors was just one chapter, but what a chapter it was. Legacy Ray Manzarek's influence revolutionized rock music through his innovative keyboard techniques. His ability to simultaneously play bass lines and melodies transformed band dynamics, while his fusion of classical, jazz and rock created a template for progressive rock. His technical innovations on the Vox Continental organ and later synthesizers established keyboards as lead instruments in rock music. Contemporary artists from electronic music to indie rock cite his arrangements as inspiration. Beyond music, his role in merging poetry with rock helped elevate the genre's artistic credibility. The Doors' sophisticated arrangements and literary influences created a blueprint for intellectually ambitious rock music that endures today. Like and subscribe for more profiles of rock's greatest innovators. Support our documentary series by sharing with fellow music lovers. Hit the notification bell to catch new episodes exploring the legends who shaped modern music. Leave your favourite Doors memories in the comments below.